Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Cut to the Jase. We're up to episode 20 now as both seasons in the WNBL and NBL head towards the finals. Of course, finals week starting for the WNBL. And, of course, I'm Braden Hazelhurst, the co-host and editor of basketball.com.au. And, of course, joined by the main man himself, Jason Cadee. And, Jase, both competitions really heating up.
Yep, going to use our most overused line of the show so far. It's another big week.
It's our slogan. It's our slogan.
Honestly, it might have to be. But this is the fun time of the year. Like, I know that every other part of it's fun, but this is when it gets serious. Teams drop out, gets to basically do or die games. And we've seen that in the NBL now with some, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I think it's great. We've got awards ceremonies happening. We've got people getting ready for finals, and we've got people getting ready for Mad Mondays.
Absolutely. But just on today's show, we're going to go speak a little bit about some recent events. We got Sydney Kings captain and superstar Xavier Cooks as our special guest interview. Can't wait for that one. And then we're going to do our normal Jase 5 points and everything. But as we head into the semi-final series for the WNBL, we're going to get basketball.com.au's WNBL reporter and Hayley Wilds on for a quick preview as well. Apart from just me, obviously, talking about the Bendigo Spirit, I'm sure people want to hear other people's opinion and more about the other teams as well. But, Jace, first thing I want to get into, it's been a heated week in basketball, mate. We're starting with the NBA. There's been fights left, right, and center. I think Isaiah Stewart almost started another malice in the palace. There's been fights everywhere in the NBA. There's been some interesting things happening in the NBL too. That Southeast Melbourne Phoenix and Sydney Kings rivalry continues to heat up.
It does. The NBA fights were interesting too. Some of them started to get real live. But no, obviously for us over here, the Gorge Foxy incident has been talked about everywhere. Whether you liked it or not, it's generated a whole heap of publicity. So I guess there's a lot of people that'd be happy for it, and they'd be just hoping and seeing when they meet each other in the finals, because it's going to add a whole nother layer to all the previews we watch. But yeah, it's an interesting one for me. Like, I actually think we saw a bit of Gorge. I don't want to say he lost it. I think he meant to do it to show his team that he's got their back. But I don't know if he meant to do it in the way he did, if that makes sense. Like, obviously, the words he chose to use repeatedly, maybe one of them, I get it. Two maybe. Three, now how much are you going to say? Especially if someone just told you to shut up and sit down. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I thought it definitely was aggressive. But yeah, I think it adds to the theater of it all, and I can't figure out if I love it or I hate it.
Well, while Jace tries to get off that fence he's been sitting on for the last couple of weeks, I'm going to say straight up, I love it. And I was actually looking across a video today, Jace, that reminded me of why Gorge does this. And it was a Ben Simmons bit of a video, and it was about when he passed up that shot in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Semis. I think it was in 2021 against Atlanta. He passed off to Matisse. And the end of that Philly-Ben Simmons relationship was when Doc came out after losing that game and said he doesn't know if Ben Simmons is an NBA point guard.
Yeah.
How successful has Doc Rivers been lately in this age of basketball? Yes, he won a championship with Boston, and they did all right with LA Clippers. But how successful has he been in this era where relationships and everything are a little bit more important?
No, and that's the part where I agree and I see what he's doing. I just don't know that. I think he could have. I just don't know that if the way and what he said did that as much. Like, when you say F you to someone 3 times, it's now not. It's like if it was off the back, like it was a straight off the back comment when he said, "I'm not talking to you, bitch." You've kind of killed him already.
That's the only thing I have a problem with. I don't even have a problem with the 3 FUs, first of all. And John Cena's been a kind of topic on this show, and that kind of goes with that. But I only have a problem with the B word. Like, I think that's where it's a little bit personal and everything. I think that's the only one to me.
Well, if I would have rather gorged it in with a "who do you think you're talking to" kind of thing of like, do you know who I am?
Hey, have you seen my bum bag? That's what I would have said.
You need a resume to be able to talk to me, young fella. I think what he was doing, I completely agree with. How he did it, I don't know if I like it because I just think the words he used, I don't even know if Gorge would have loved what he used. And part of me, I did stand there and say, if that was Justin Tatum or someone else, would they still be there coaching that game after that point? That's where, for me, I get a little bit lost in it all. But in terms of what Gorge did and sticking up for his team, if I was on that Sydney Kings team, 100% once that came out, they would have been pumping Gorge up. Gorge would have been feeling like he was 42, not 72.
I'm going to go to another point too. I think it's, and I'm sure Xavier is going to say something similar. I think it's a bit about creating that us versus them mentality. And you played for one of the ultimate us versus them environment coaches in Joey Wright. Have you seen him do something similar? Probably, maybe not to this extent, but he used to get fired up and protect his players and have a bark at opposition players from time to time as well.
Yeah, Joey was great at that. Let's get one thing straight. Joey's an elite coach. He's elite at getting people to play for him and play a certain way. And he was elite at showing guys that I'm all in. It doesn't matter if it's talking battles, coaching battles, fight battles, I'm all in. I think he's one of those guys that Joey just was able to build certain things. I think the thing about Gorge is, and if you just go back to when Sydney first played Adelaide, that was their biggest win at the start of the year. And if you remember everything he said leading into that and after it was, guys, it is us against everyone. He built it around KD. It's us against the world. We got to have each other's backs. And he's been great at doing that. And I think if you're a group right now, you need to try, if you're against the Kings, you need to try and disband the us against the world to being like, everyone loves the Kings. So maybe they can get rid of the narrative. But for them, I think they've found their calling card.
Yeah, absolutely. And just heading into the NBL 1 season, Jase, I think I'll have one former team that I might have a similar chat with my group about when we play them. But anyway, we'll move on. I wanted to ask you this before we move on to the rest of the show. What's the craziest incident you've seen like this in the NBL? Now, I said you've played with Joey, who's, been in some interesting situations and different things. Is there an incident that comes to mind similar to this, where it's been that sort of coach and player back and forth that's really sparked things?
I mean, there's one in the Philippines, but that might need its own episode.
That was in the NBL player, was it?
In the NBL, though, you mentioned him, and you probably mentioned him because you were thinking of the incident. The Joey Wright in Perth incident was...
Oh, yep.
Like, that was a rivalry, the Adelaide-Perth rivalry. We were the top two teams on the ladder.
Where's Adam Tasalovic?
If Joey could have got his hands on him that day. But it was brewing. It started. Then next minute, the coaches, someone puts hands on Joey and Joey goes off the radar. Then we're trying to pull Joey back. And anyone in that Perth environment knows if you ever want us against the world, it might not be as current now as what it was then, but it was definitely like you felt like you were rolling in against the 100% the world. They're all in red and they'd say some really harsh things to you.
Yeah, absolutely. But on that point, I cannot wait, and hopefully we see this matchup at some stage in the playoffs. It'll be epic watching for NBL fans for sure. And just going to go over some quick things before we move on, Jase. Jock Landau ends up getting traded a couple of times to the Atlanta Hawks, where he's playing alongside Boomer's teammate Dyson Daniels. He's been really good there, apart from getting his neck scratched and everything in one of those fights. But he's been sensational. And I just want to give a little bit of a shout out and a mention to Johnny Furphy too, who was starting to play some good basketball and starting to get healthy for the Indiana Pacers. And their future looked, pretty bright after trading for Ivica Zubac after making the finals last year. But he's torn his ACL, and that can be anywhere from a 9 to 12-month recovery. But unfortunate for him, but Jock Landau, again, doing some good things in the NBA, Jase.
No, and I think firstly on Jock, because I'm going to talk about him later, so I won't do it all now, but to bounce around and then pop into a place, they already love Australians because they love Dyson, obviously. I think he's going to make himself a home there. I just feel like he is, whether he's a starter or a bench player. I think Jock's in a place in his life where he knows I belong, and he's got that confidence to go out and do that. So I think for him, like, how good. And then on Johnny, like, it just sucks, right? Like, he's had a bit of a disrupted year with injury, and then you see him. People bagged me for picking him but like my Boomers team for in a year's time. But you look at what he was starting to do in down here and how he's starting to play and his intangibles, and that's what I'm saying. That's the guy and who he can be. It just sucks to see someone go down who, from all reports, is a great guy. He's still young, got a long way to go, but I'm sure he'll rehab and get better. But it always sucks to see, especially our guys, go down.
Absolutely. And just last thing before we move on to our chat with Xavier Cooks, WNBL Awards night was on Monday night in Sydney. Jason didn't attend, for those wondering. He actually stood me up for that event. So I was there on my lonesome. Lucky there were some people to keep you company there, Jase. It was pretty depressing there for a while, to be honest. But going through some of the WNBL awards.
Wait up. Are you going to tell people that I was sick and I actually didn't come for a reason? Or you just did say when I stood you up?
It suits the narrative, mate. But also, people just battle through things that they actually want to be at. So I got the message. I got the message,
mate. I didn't need to make anyone sick.
Yeah, that is true, especially heading into finals.
Exactly.
But just recapping the WNBL awards, our own Bendigo Spirits, Izzy Borlase takes home MVP. That ended up being a landslide, and great to see her get the reward for the season she had. Fans MVP was Annalie Maley, who's obviously had a great year as well and finished second in the MVP voting. Defensive Player of the Year was Han Zhu. Coach of the Year was, of course, Bendigo's own Kennedy Kariyama as well. Great to see Nia Locke get the community award too, the work she's doing out in the Melbourne community. And I think that's might be the only ones. Sixth Player of the Year, Lucy Olsen for the Townsville Fire had an incredible season her first year in the WNBL, of course, coming from the Washington Mystics in the WNBA. So great to see, the WNBL players recognised for such a good year in the first year under this new ownership group as well. So we'll talk a bit about that later in the show, Jase, but that's all for our introduction segment. Now it's time to interview Sydney Kings superstar Xavier Cooks. Welcome back, everybody, to Cut to the Jason. It's, of course, time for our special guest interview segment. And today, none other than Sydney Kings superstar Xavier Cooks. Xavier, welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Looking forward to it.
First of all, I've got to get this one out of the way because Jase is obviously from Step One. We know he's on the big bucks and everything with Step One. And, of course, you're part of the Step One family as well. And how did Jase rope you into that, mate?
I'm on the little bucks at Step One, but I think I was over in Japan at the time, actually, and he's really started getting in my DMs and then just said, just give him a try. You just got to give it a try. And I'm the kind of guy, I was like, yeah, I got you, bro. And just like, didn't get back to him. And then straight away, he's like, I'm going to give him a try. And then I finally did try him. I'm like, these are legit. Jason was right. Now I see why he's bugging me so much. And then, yeah, from then on, I just jumped on board and I love him. Got him on right now.
And then I
want to tell you the best things though right now are the sleepwear.
Yes.
Love them, bro. Fire.
No, the sleepwear is changing the game. I think I'm getting more reviews on the sleepwear than I am the undie.
Yeah, unreal. Yeah, they're unreal. Yeah, anywho.
And but the worst part is, and Brady's going to be like, oh yeah, because you guys are involved, you're pumping it up. But
try it. Just try it.
Oh, Zay, there is several things I'm waiting for my podcast co-host to cut me in on, and unfortunately, I haven't been cut in on any of them yet. So I'll try them.
You know what, Braden? I'll help you, and I'll help our guy who helps this happen, Daz. I'll make that happen for you.
Sweet.
But right, Jose, we're gonna just jump straight into it because we spoke about it before we went live. The incident on the weekend. Everyone's got an opinion on it. Some like it, some don't like it. Some just don't care. They think it's great TV. As a part of it, as a player, as a captain, what's your views on it all?
I mean, as a basketball player, I think these kind of things just happen, especially in games like this that are so hyped up and so competitive and everyone knows what's at stake. And even our like conflicting game styles, the pressure, the bumping and grinding, both teams are real similar in that way. And it just comes down to it boiled over. But I mean, I like it. I love that's the best part about sports is the emotion you can feel from it and things like that. And sometimes it's for the best, sometimes it's for the worst. But I think it's a part of the game. I don't think any far too into it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, it sometimes that just I think people forget the build up to it. Like when you've been in it and you're a player, like you try and act like there's no build up. It's another game, but everyone knows there's build up from within. And do you think just like a big reason for the emotion is too like top spots for grabs? And like that's a double win. You beat Southeast, you give them a loss, you give you a win. There's no way in this environment to sometimes hide from that build up. And do you think that sometimes is why it just comes out?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you definitely can't hide from it in this day and age of the social media and things like that. But you're right.
Yeah.
The double header game, like the win-loss thing was a huge thing for us, knowing that if we go win on from now on, we should be the top spot from now on. But yeah, I think that, but even the last game we played them was a little bit of pushy and shovey,
Yeah.
like, and then even the KD Sobe debate for MVP battle, and they're both such competitive firecrackers out there. Like, it's just some really entertaining basketball. And like, I don't want it to take away from the quality of game that it was. And this whole series has been like, the game that we played them in Kudos Bank when they beat us when I got injured was an unbelievable game. And even this game,
Yeah.
it was just high level basketball. Like I remember I watching the broadcast back in the first quarter, it was like 35-35 and the broadcast, like they can't get any stops. I'm like, bro, we were trying. It was just some tough bucket making. You know what I mean? Like the things you try to give up on the scouting report, they'll make it or things like that. And that's the way the game really started. And yeah.
You're right, though. It flowed on from that game at Kudos where you got hurt. That was exactly like that game. Everyone was like, they can't keep going at this pace. And next minute, it's like 120 to 118.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, Gorge has been around, man. Like, Gorge has been around, seen it all. Like, what is he, 72 and he's still fired up? Like, he also has a feel for what he's doing out there, emotions and all. Like, do you think part of Gorge's emotion was also like, I'm going to show my group right now that I have their back entirely as we head into a final series?
100%, especially in that fire of an environment when everyone was against us. And I think you could see the result from there and the way that the team responded from that technical foul. But I think that's what makes Gorge such a great coach. I think coaching goes so much further than just the X's and O's. And Gorge has such a great feel for it and the communication and the relationships and things like that. That's why he's such a great coach.
Oh, I wanted to follow on to that, Zave. Like when you're out there and you see your coach, and if people don't realize why Gorge is doing that, then you're pretty silly because he has a history of doing this and really backing his players. When you see that as a skipper, when it happens for you and when it happens for KD and that, what does it mean to you when you're out there? What type of boost does it give you? I guess I'm asking.
Especially on the road, I think it really makes you come together. It makes you feel like it's you against the world, and to have that the leader has your back and is willing to sacrifice the tech and do those things. He still has a dice roll, he still has a penalty for that, but we'll take it.
What is that the biggest rivalry right now? Like you guys, I mean the league's competitive, so there's rivals, right? Like you got one this week, Illawarra. Like, do you think the Southeast Melbourne one right now is maybe nearing the top?
I mean, I wouldn't say rivalry. I don't think it's just a great series. Like in terms of rivalry, I think our only rivalry is Illawarra. They keep trying to say there's other ones in Perth and Melbourne, and to me, it's just Illawarra. Maybe because I'm an Illawarra boy, but
yeah,
I think it's just like it doesn't help. We have so many of our past players on that team, in Angus Glover, Ian Clark, now Geordie Hunter. They're running similar sets that we were running back then. Like it is.
It all adds up. It all adds up. You started the year slow, like as a group, I think. And once again, started it slow. It's all part of it, right? It's all a journey. And I think when you say started slow, it's because expectations were so high on your group. Like me and you speak all the time. And when you guys went and signed KD and then you signed Delhi and you start to bring all these pieces together, like as a player, you sit there and go, oh, okay. Like it's like you get excited for that. You've figured it out. Like there's no doubt you guys have figured it out. You've been able to you add Torrey Craig in now, even though you lose such a great piece in Bull Qual. You've won 8 in a row. Like, what sparked the change? Because even like you've come out and spoke a lot about your journey and just even your year, how it's kind of you got lost in a bit of that year and a bit of that patch when it was bad. But then since you've kind of bounced back to being yourself, your happy self, your group has also followed that as well, I think. And I know KD's risen in performance, but a lot of it to me falls back on you because you are one of those guys that make other people better, even though only people that play understand that at times.
Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, I think at the start of the year we have so many pieces coming in, and so many people that need the ball in their hand that we're all trying to figure out the dynamic of it all on the percentage of who has the ball and things like that. I really took a step back and, you know what I mean, try to figure out what I was there last year, and we had a terrible year last year, so I thought we had some change, and we had some change. And I think it just takes time to figure out the dynamics and figure out each other's preferences. And right now, I think the biggest thing is we found our identity. I think the last year or so, we didn't know what we were on both ends of the court. And like now we know what kind of defensive team we want to be and how do we want to play on offense and how that flows together and things like that, which really helps. You can kind of, now you know the path and direction you're trying to go, you can really pursue it harder, I feel like.
Do you think part of having some older guys in your group, like your Delis, yourself, guys that aren't at the, like for sure, like, I mean, Deli's a bit older than you, but like you're at the back end of your careers in terms of you're closer to the end than the start. Closer to the end of the start. You're not old, but you're also not a spring chicken no more. But do you think having that experience is what I'm looking for is part of the reason that you're able to take that step back? Where sometimes I guess when you're younger, you just think I'm going to do more rather than as you get older and learn, it's like I'm actually going to do a bit less because it's going to allow everything to figure itself out.
I think so, for sure. I mean, having so many guys in the locker room that has so much experience, even Bogut, guys like that, which help out as well. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that was part of the problem. We had a little bit too much of everyone trying to step forward and solve the problem. And that's not really how the game's supposed to be played. Like, it's good to have role definition and things like that. And it can't, like, a team can't excel with five superstars being five superstars on the court. That's not how, you know what I mean? Teams always work best with a defender, some spaces out there, some creators, you know, and things like that. And I think it took us a little while to figure that out. Myself, I don't know. I just took a step back and I think when you're too locked in there and too focused in there, sometimes it's so hard to see the broader picture and, you know, getting everybody involved, even in the game sometimes. I might get too aggressive and just put my head down and not get others involved. It makes it a lot harder for myself. You know, that's what I've kind of figured out over the time.
I want to follow up. Sorry, Jase, if I could jump in. A point you made there, like having Bogut with you guys as well. And me and Jase have spoken about his involvement with you guys this year. Like I was at the Australian Coaches Conference, which is mostly junior coaches coming through and learning. And he was there trying to learn different stuff off people. So he spoke to us about wanting to do it the right way and everything. What, I guess, impact has he had on your squad this year as an assistant coach, having him in there?
Oh, a huge impact. I mean, especially on us bigs. He does a lot of work with us bigs, and a guy like that with so much experience and even when he plays, such a high IQ player that you could learn so much from. And then in the coaching staff, having a guy that, especially with our coaching staff, we've got some 72-year-olds in there. Like we need like Bogue as a past player, someone that I play with, I have a relationship with. It helps, you know, get on the same language sometimes, like on the same page, like things like that. And as well, just some things as well, you don't necessarily want to go to the head coach to talk about and just want to bounce ideas with. And Bogue is the best for that. He has he's thinking of the game is next level.
I've said before, and you've played in him, is Bogues one person that stands out from when you played alongside him as someone who could just truly anchor a defense? Like, I remember playing alongside Bogues, and I just remember thinking in that training camp we had for the World Cup, and I just remember thinking, like, I feel like this guy is actually just telling everything that's going on behind me right now. And then if you get beat, he's there to protect you as well. Have you met someone like him in that, like, impact that he had?
Not at all. I mean, he makes you feel like you have eyes in the back of your head, just knowing where all screens are, and even not over talking, but talking about the essential things at the right time in such a loud voice. And yeah, but then you know he's going to be blocking shots behind you. I always say that, like, when we first had Bose on our team, we had Geordie Hunter, and it was great for Geordie, but at the time he wasn't at that level of sitting back in that deep, deep drops, and that was the worst thing to happen to Geordie, was being around Bogues and seeing that he could do it because he was so great at the other little things where it took Geordie a little bit more time, but now he's mastered it.
Zave, what's helped you regain your form? Because as we said and you spoke about, there was an article that came out it's part of everyone's career. You're going ups and downs, but like I guess once again, unfortunately, expectation on you is you're just going to be excellent because you've been the MVP. You've done so many great things. What's allowed you to find your form again with this group where now, I mean, people pretty comfortably say you are the team to beat?
In terms of me personally, I'll probably a lot of it for me is a mental thing as well. I get a lot of head noise, and just trying to block that out and stay confident through the bad games. And I always bring back this Tasmania game. I mean, coming into the game, I was in the terrible headspace. And in that game, it wasn't even the turnover, it was just the whole game. I was trash. And I think from then I spoke to our performance team and even our guy, Nick Haywood, our culture guy, a guy called Jack Brown as well, that talked to me, bro, and just talk to those kind of guys to try and get my mental state right. And then even meetings with Gorge and meeting with players to help figure out a system that works for myself and for everybody. I think I have some strength and I have some weaknesses. And, if I'm sitting necessarily in the dunker the whole time, it's not getting the best out of everybody. You know what I mean? We've trying to figure out that how I kind of fit into this role.
On that, first of all, Nick Haywood, I had to guard him in a Siebel game in like 2011, and he ran around too much for me. So you can remind him of that. So
We'll let him know.
That's the first thing. But I think just build on a point you said there. Like, obviously, you said when you're struggling headspace wise, you speak to people and everything. But I think that's a real interesting point for the battles that professional athletes go through. Apart from speaking to those people around the club and different things, what do you do individually to try and get yourself back from those moments? Because that happens so much during a season.
I mean, I think the main thing is just getting in the gym and getting reps up. Having good practices goes a long way to your confidence and feeling a rhythm. Even watching film or visualization, things like this help. That's one thing I try to focus on before the game to go into the right space. But I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. A lot of it's on the court I try to do as well. Like I said, just get in the gym, get reps up.
What's it been like adding Tory in so late in the season?
Way smoother than I thought. Really smooth. A guy coming in that late for a team that was on a roll and such a close-knitted team, and then bringing in an NBA guy is a dangerous move, just for culture reasons.
Yeah.
A lot of NBA guys come with egos, and if they're not getting the ball, they're going to go force it or things like that. They're not going to come play a role. Whereas Tory has fit in on the court, unbelievable. He's just a high-level basketball player that knows how to play. Even we just play, basic two-side, three-side. He fits in and knows it so well, he's already figured out people's preferences and things like that. But then off the court, he's just a humble, just a normal dude, like a really good dude. I knew that coming in, everyone had such high reports about him, but he's lived up to expectations for sure.
No, it definitely helps when you've had a guy who, even when he played for Cairns and Brisbane, right? Like all the reports were Tory's a great guy, good basketball player, goes plays in the NBA, comes back and is the exact same dude. How's that dynamic shifted this year? Bringing in KD, obviously you play with some elite point guards, you play with Jalen Adams, you play with some dudes who really got it done. The dynamic between KD and Delhi was always going to be interesting. Then yourself, who could handle it. How have you guys figured that out? Like, you spoke about it for yourself, but I've seen it in person. Like, he's incredible as a basketballer, with the ball, whatever you want to say. How have you figured that out to maximize that, where now your group's just humming?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first part of the year, there was some growing pains on performance. But the best part about it, all three of us have been so great through it all. You know what I mean? Everyone's willing to sacrifice whatever they have to do to try to get this thing rolling. And everyone's just so frustrated with the whole situation that we're willing to do anything. Everyone's so great about that. But then KD is truly a really special basketball player. His ability just to play on one-on-one, his change of speed. Like you said, Jalen Adams was a great one. He was probably one of the best in pick and roll I've ever played with, whereas KD is just a one-on-one highlight machine. Just give him the ball and play. And I think his game style fits really well into a lot of other guys. McQuatch is playing so well now. JG, that get out and pace, play free basketball and just hoop pretty much. And then Wes Delhi, he's great for the structure part. You know what I mean? Like, you can't play street ball the whole 40 minutes of the basketball game. There's going to be times where you're going to be slowed down or, 2-for-1 situation, things like that. And Delhi is unbelievable getting people into their spots and even keeping us in order.
When we talk about why Sydney can win a championship and why you guys believe it, do you believe that your ability, obviously, to defend and play offensively, But do you believe that the ability within your group right now is you have many different ways you can play? You can go bigger with you at the 4. You can go smaller with you at the 5. You now bring in Tori who can play the 4. Like, do you believe your depth and the way you can play different ways is why you can win and that you can back yourself in any series as we get towards these playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, the reason why I think we can win is like even during the time where I was out, we were playing probably better basketball. You know what I mean? Like we have so many different
Settle
ways.
down, not better, but you're still playing good
And
basketball.
some great basketball. But like, and it just showed me you're right. We can play in so many different ways, and even we can match our opponent's style of play and try to figure out what's the best way to attack that. Whether it's play in the half court or play at pace or play full court pickup kind of games, we have so many different options. And then our depth, we have guys that are we're playing 5 minute stints at a time, knowing there's a guy coming in right behind us, so we can go give it out 100% at all times. You know what I mean? Some teams don't have that luxury where their star players got to play 40 minutes, and you kind of got to pace yourself. Or when the star players do go out, there's a weakness on the court, and you really target on that. And the way that the game's played, 2 minutes can turn into 15 points. Especially when you're playing us or Southeast, one of these high-paced teams. Like that's one of our advantages. We can just play through so different ways. So.
What personally, when you go through all this and you've evolved, right? Like the Zave that I met as a kid when we were going to China for the Stankovic Cup and those things, to now like you're Xavier Cooks, the captain of the Sydney Kings. You've been a championship winner as a captain. Like you've become a leader. What's it been like? Because you're not too dissimilar to me. Grew up in around the NBL. Your dad was heavily involved. What's it like when you probably won't do this till you retire, but when you sit back now as even yourself going, I'm the captain of the Sydney Kings, I'm a leader of this club, we've won titles. How's that evolution been for you to adapt and slowly like learn that some of these guys are looking to you for advice or to see how you go about your life and about your game?
In terms of around the team, I love, giving puts and advice and things like that. But in terms of like thinking about I'm the captain, I try not to think about that. I mean, there's moments when I'm driving to the game and I see all the Cooks jerseys out and about and I'm like really proud of myself and, things like that. But for the most part, I'm just so focused on the day to day and trying to make everybody better. But around the court and around the guys, I love when they come ask questions and things like that, or, just ask about the history of the Sydney King. It makes me feel like an old dude, but I'm the one with the answers usually.
You've obviously had stints with Australia. You've been an incredible player across your whole career from juniors to seniors. Do you still, like, I know what happened, you got cut and that hurt because it was something you've been a part of. And once again, you kind of spoke about that. Is there still an itch for you to get back involved in that program and be around? Because everyone knows that when you can represent the green and gold, there's no other feeling. Is that still a goal of yours?
Oh, an itch. It's itching, at all times. That's like the biggest honor of all time. And one of my dreams have always been, win an NBL championship, go to the NBA and go to Olympics. That's one of my things. And if I could one day go to Olympics and represent the Boomers, that would be a real dream come true. There's a lot of young talent coming through these days and, they're getting real good. So it's going to be tough, but it'll be interesting. I'm excited for the challenge and it's going to be a huge honor, hopefully.
On that, you have Gorge, who was obviously the previous Australian coach there. Has he helped you along with any advice on what areas of your game you can really change or improve on to try and get there? Because obviously that's out of your list you mentioned, that's the last goal you've got there to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one that cut me, so yeah. but of course he's had little pits and things over the years and help me figure out what my role is at that level. You know what I mean? If I want to make the team, here's what you need to be, and similarities and things that I need to get better at. And even coming into camp with what kind of mindset and things like that, especially coming into this Asia Cup camp I had. And then that was off my suspension as well. So I wasn't in the best place, and Gorge was really helpful during that period.
Last few, Zave, I'm going to stay on this for a second. What's it been like growing up an Illawarra kid, loving Sav, Matt Campbell and all those guys, and now you play for the Kings? What's that been like?
I don't even know the words for it. Like, I don't know the word. I still go home and I get called a traitor every now and then. And some of my friends just talking smack. But I mean, I wouldn't trade anything. I love it. I'm so excited to go back into the snake pit and the sand pit now and go in there and just play in front of that environment, even the hostility of it all. But I look at guys like Gritter and Sam, and that's what I always thought I was going to be growing up. And just those
Yeah.
true local legends. I walk around town and see them guys, and they're Wollongong legends now. And that's what I thought my life was going to be like. But when we're up in Sydney now,
So now you're a Kings. You're going to be a Kings legend. So some would
yeah,
some would say you've upgraded.
yeah, I would say that. Just look at that
Talk
front
to us.
facilities.
Wait till the new one arrives, then we'll really know. What talk to us quickly about your NBA stint, because you said it was a dream. It's a dream for everyone that plays, wishes to touch the floor of an NBA. Very few get the chance to. What was that stint like?
Unbelievable. I mean, obviously it was short lived. It was a real weird thing. Like getting there at the end of the year the team was already wiped out and it was my dream come true. I was like a little baby for Christmas and everyone else was over it. You know what I mean? But it was enjoyable then. And then coming into the training camp was really enjoyable as well. Knowing that my job was up for line, I ended up not getting signed, but just going up against those guys and competing against the best of the best and seeing what steps need to get taken to get to that level. Because it's really minute things that separate the NBA players from the best around the world, I think. Just like they really fine tune one skill a little bit better than somebody else, or they have the right body type, or especially the NBA is so young these days. But it was a really cool experience.
Did you have any moments that was like everyone talks about my welcome to the NBA moment? Did you have anything you're like, yeah, I'm not down in Sydney training at Auburn or playing down in Wollongong or Cairns at the moment. This is a whole different level.
I mean, when they started taking, like, you get off the bus and they're like, yeah, I'll take your bag to the room. And I'm like, no, it's all good. I've got it. And they're like, no, seriously. And I'm like, no, like, leave me alone. But then even like on the court playing with Giannis and things like that. I remember one little story for you. I remember we played in New York at the Madison Square Garden. I was so excited. And I got subbed in like second quarter or something like that. I wasn't expecting it. And I went to go sub in and I couldn't get the tearaway pants off. And I'm trying. Ended up having to take them off like the old fashioned way over the shoes and got a delay of game warning. It was terrible.
That's brilliant.
Well, mate, we really appreciate your time. We understand it's a busy time with the NBL sort of heating up to the business end of the season. And obviously you guys are doing amazingly well with the Sydney Kings and fighting for that top spot and should be a really exciting playoff series going forward. But, mate, really appreciate your time and all the best for the rest of the season.
Awesome, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back, everybody, to Cut to the Jase, and a great interview there with Sydney Kings captain Xavier Cooks. But it's time for our JC 5 points. But first, before we do that, heading into the WNBL final series, and we mentioned the awards night the other night. I was going to say we were at Jase, but you weren't there. But just in case, some little backstory, Haley, Jase stood me up at the WNBL awards night. But before we get us,
I want to bring us into this bloke.
I wanted to bring in our basketball.com.au WNBL expert Haley Wilds, who's done a great job covering the league this year. Haley, first of all, I want your thoughts on the WNBL awards night. I think it's the sort of unanimous feedback that we've had from everyone is that, they got it pretty right this year.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And obviously, you'd be happy with the awards that Bendigo walked away with. And obviously, Coach of the Year, you would have played a role in that behind the scenes. So congrats to yourself on that. But yeah, I think we all thought Izzy Borlase was going to get that MVP and rightfully deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously people probably expected her to go to a new level with the leadership and everything here. But to go, and do the things she's done, which, Jason and I will talk a little bit about later, and his 5 points has been incredible. But the others too, I think the other one I just wanted to sort of mention and probably get your opinion of, Jace. I think you'll know her because she's been around for so long too. The one I was really happy to see was all WNBL second team was Alex Chubatoni get in there. Been in the league for a while, obviously, missed some time through pregnancy and everything, but she's playing the best basketball of her career, Haley. She's been amazing for the Perth Lynx this year.
100%. And I think it sort of goes back to early in the season when there were injuries. She was the one stepping up and playing the massive minutes. And then that just continued throughout the season. And she's that player that just gives 100%, and she's sort of that sneaky player that can just do a little bit of everything, and she brings so much to that Perth team.
Do you think, and it's a loaded question because it is true, but do you think having people like that is what helps them be as high on the ladder? Like when you're going through a season and you got someone like Alex who's been around so long and understands it, can just kind of fill in almost like I'm here when needed almost, but I think they play such a big part, especially in how deep Perth's roster is this year.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when you look at all those top 3 teams, they all have those sort of players that just do whatever is needed and can step up, whether they come off the bench or start, as Braden shows there. A great example, Kelsey Griffin, who obviously made second team. So, yeah, it's just an unbelievable sort of, to have that Swiss Army knife player that can sort of do anything and just jump into any role is such a luxury. And I think all top 3 teams have that player.
Before we get into the final series, was there any awards that surprised you? Did anyone sneak up and you thought, oh, I didn't expect that? Or was everything pretty much the T?
I think they pretty much got it all right. I think from my point of view, maybe the only one that was a little bit questionable, but she did deserve it, was Han Shu, when she didn't sort of play the whole season for Perth and she missed sort of all those games at the start, but she was obviously a great defensive player and you can't really fault that they went with her.
Yeah, having to game plan against her on the offensive end probably leads to the reason why she's the defensive player of the year. I think it's one hell of a prospect to game plan for, Jase.
I mean, and let's be honest, they're always going to give her some award. It was just what? But no, I mean, anyone to that size and her ability to play, like you don't see many of her, I guess, types around. Like it's not, especially in Australia. Like we've had a few taller people, but she's obviously such a different presence. And everyone can think they know how to play against big players until someone like that rolls up and it changes the whole world. For now you got to shoot it a little bit higher, or now you shoot it a little bit further back. It can change everything.
100%. And I think we've seen that throughout the season. And I feel like she has built nicely towards this finals campaign, and Perth is sort of really figuring out how to use her. So I think they've timed it well.
Oh, thanks for that, Haley. Really appreciate it.
I'm gonna go to that series second, because that's the one I want to talk about second. Let's go to Townsville versus Southside, because Townsville obviously had a great year, and it's really, for me, there's been 3 runaways the whole year to the top 3. For most of the season, we're trying to figure out which of them is going to beat the other person to stack the order, and we finally got there late. But Southside have some experience where I don't think you can just say this is a shoo-in, but I think most would sit here and say we expect Perth to win this series.
Yeah, I agree. I think Townsville is obviously the team to beat in this series. And I think Townsville, for them, they just need to play the way they play. And I feel like they get to the free throw line the most in the competition, and they need to continue to attack the basket and really continue on that way that they have done all season. And I think for Southside, they really need to sort of defend that perimeter, because the 3-point shooters that Townsville have are just insane. And they shot, I think it's 38% from 3 for the season, and they don't shoot a lot of them, but they sort of get those great shots. And I think it just bodes well for what they do on both sides of the court when those 3-pointers are going in.
Especially at home. And once they get going, it's another prospect to try and stop at home. But speaking on that, Hales, is Southside in their last game against Townsville in Townsville only lost by 1, I think it was, and it was an Abby Ellis 3 down the stretch. That's the thing about Southside. Yes, they probably had an inconsistent season, but they got a lot of weapons in that team that can really turn it on, and people who have done it in finals time in the past as well.
Absolutely. And I know that they beat Townsville down in Melbourne earlier in the season, so they'd head into this sort of series with a fair bit of confidence. And I think the key for Southside is just to move that ball, because when they get bogged down on offense, they don't look great, but when they get the ball moving, and they have such great passes, obviously Rochi's leading the league in assists, or one of, and then you've got Kayla George that can do it all. So I think they need to just move that ball and try to tire Townsville if they can.
Do you have any key players for the series? Like, obviously, it's easy to just say the best player, but sometimes it's not just the best player. Who are your keys in both teams for the series?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think for Townsville, I like Lucy Olsen. Obviously, she was 6th player of the year and a deserved winner for that. But she's someone that when she gets going, I feel like it's just a luxury for Townsville to have her coming off the bench. And I think she's someone that can really change the game. And then for Southside, a player that I've interviewed this past week, Nia Locke. I'm not sure if she's going to play. She's had an ankle injury in that last round, but she's someone that comes off the bench or starts and just brings so much energy. And she's sort of that infectious player that I think if she gets going, the team follows her.
And I think, sorry, Jase, to jump in, but I think when Nia moved into the starting lineup, it really gave them some good balance off the bench too, bringing Tara Reid off the bench and having a bit more firepower there as well. It's been a really good move for Southside since they've done that, and hopefully Nia's okay for the semi-final series.
I was going to say tape it up. That's all right. This time of the year, just tape it up and then you take a couple of painkillers and off you go. Worry about it after the game. That's a whole other issue. What I'm going to put you on the spot. What's your prediction?
I think Towns will get over the line. I'm going to go 2-0, but I think it's going to be competitive, and I think Southside have what it takes to maybe grab a game, but I just think Townsville have just been an unbelievable all season, so I feel like they'll get the win in this series.
Fair enough. I won't ask you, Braden, because you probably can't speak on it, seeing you're involved.
Can't say that.
But I also agree 2-0. I think they've been too good all year long, and I'm a big fan of Shannon. I think he's done a great job ever since he's been a coach. So let's go to the one that we all want to talk about, Perth versus Bendigo. And we said it before, but legitimately any of these top 3 teams could have finished first. Now it's panned out the way it has. Bendigo have had to deal with some people in and out, and obviously Mariana gets pregnant, but they opted not to bring anyone in with the belief that they have a group that can get things done. How does this series shape up for you?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting series. And obviously, whoever got in that 2nd and 3rd place, that was going to be the series to really watch in the first round. And I think for me, it's the rebounding battle is going to be massive. Obviously, Perth, they've got Annalee Maley, that's just an insane rebounder, one of the best rebounders in the world. But then they also have Han Shu, who, for her size, she's not the best rebounder, but she can get in there and really clog the paint. So I think for Bendigo, they need to really try and battle for those rebounds. I know it's easier said than done when you've got Annalee Maley just going crazy down there. So it is tough for Bendigo, but I think if they can sort of equal or win that rebound battle, I think it's going to be massive for them.
Can we talk about the factor that no one's going to talk about? Travel from Perth to Bendigo and then back again if it goes to game 3. Now, Graydon, you can talk on this a little bit, but this is going to play a part whether people like it or not, because it's not only the 5-hour trip, it's then having to get in, land, drive to Bendigo. Like, that all plays a part.
100% it does. And I think it's incredible to think that obviously, you've got that 5-hour trip and then you've got another couple hours on the bus. So I think it definitely will play a role, but I suppose they've played each other a few times this year, so I think they'd be used to it. But yeah, it's a tough trip.
No, but Jase, you've got to remember the drive from Melbourne to Bendigo is just the scenic route, mate. Like, so it's
take it in.
What about sitting in the car, mate? You obviously haven't played and done the trip.
No,
just got to enjoy it.
No, most of the time
it's easy when you're coaching.
And then when I was in Seymour road trips, most of the time you were, you were fagging into a carton and that, so you didn't really care too much. But it's a bit different at this level.
Try playing 30 a night, then sit in a car and drive an hour and a half and get on the plane and fly to Perth.
I haven't played 30 a night since biddy ball in like under 10s.
But this is where game 1 becomes really crucial, because if you're Perth, you don't want to lose it. And if you're Bendigo, you want to go to Perth and steal game 1, because then it lights everything up to go home. You got the travel, you got the trip, you got to play in Bendigo now. Game 1 in a 3-game series, for an away team to steal that is massive.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think the key player, obviously, for Bendigo is Izzy Borlase, but we sort of saw her get shut down against Geelong earlier a couple of weeks ago. But when we say she got shut down, it was still a decent game by anyone else's standards. But I think that's the key for Perth, to try and lock her down. But yeah, like I sort of spoke about with Maley, it's a lot easier said than done.
Is she your key to the game for Bendigo, to the series?
Yeah, I think so. But another player that I think is worth focusing on is Kelsey Reese. And throughout their games against Perth, she's looked really good against Han Shua and really taken it up to her. And I know in that game over in Perth a few weeks ago, in that first half, she was hitting the threes and sort of forcing Shu to take those shots a bit further out, and that was really good for Bendigo. Obviously, the second half didn't pan out, but I think they sort of found what works for them in that first half of that game.
You forgot to put the tag on that game, Hayley, as the game of Hoops Fest.
It was 100%.
That's what me and Jason called it.
It was so good.
It was actually the game that people spoke about the most the whole weekend.
It was unreal.
Who you're gonna have to say this in front of Braden. What's your prediction?
Oh, gee. I will say this is the one that I could go back and forth. I could change my mind every day, but I think just with the form at the moment, they've won a couple of games in a row against Bendigo, so I think I do have to go Perth. But I just, sorry, Braden, but I just think you ask me tomorrow, I might think Bendigo. So I think Perth, but I just think it's going to be a great series that we're all going to enjoy.
Well, Jase,
you're going to say 2-0.
No, I'll go 2-1.
Well, Jase, it's been good having Hayley on this podcast. It's the only podcast she'll ever appear on after today. But no, it's going to be just from a. I'll let you go first, mate.
I was going to say, cut to the Jase. Hayley can come on whenever she wants.
Yeah, true. But as someone who's going to be involved in it, the one thing I will say, it's going to be a hell of a series. I think the way these two teams play, and apart from probably the last game here, like it's been really exciting the times that the two teams have met, and that game in Perth was one of the best games I've ever been a part of, and there's talent all across the floor, so should be a really exciting one, and hopefully one that we see fans both in Perth and Bendigo really get behind and pack the stands, because I think we had about 7,000 at Hoops Fest in that game, and the atmosphere in that second half was absolutely insane. So it'll be a great spectacle to watch. I'll keep going. Anyway, well, good contribution to that, Jase, but no, I'm just joking.
I mean, I agree with you fully. There's no more, mate, when you stuff it up like that, there's nothing to add.
Yeah, true.
Like you just laid it all out on a platter. There's no point in me saying yes when you nailed it.
That is true. But Hayley, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate your insight into an epic WNBL playoffs that start this weekend. And congrats on all the great work you've done with the WNBL and college basketball this year. We just had another story, as you mentioned, go up with Nia Locke, which is a great one. And off the back of her winning Community Player of the Year at the WNBL Awards night on Monday night. So everyone tune into Hayley's work. She's done such a great job. But Hayley, thanks for coming on Cut to the Chase tonight.
Thanks for having me.
A great chat with Hayley Wilds from basketball.com.au about the WNBL playoffs coming up. But Jase, we're going to go into Jase 5 points for the past week. But before we do that, can I just say there is some things that have been overblown to absolute shit in the NBL over the last couple of weeks. First of all, the Andrew Bogut comments. I posted a tweet and was like, he just posted that there's going to be a meeting, blah, blah, blah. Can we stop acting like he shared like some or called them criminals or something? Like, can we relax? There's no need to bring in a code of conduct and that for one person just saying like a comment that might have some things behind it. Like, just leave it alone. Second of all, can these people stop having a go at Ruck for sharing what Josh King said with Kendrick Davis after the game? First of all, it's a public press conference that's going on social media and going on YouTube, and people going, no, it's the timing of it. Mate, he just told him what Josh King said in a press conference. He didn't share like a matter of national security. Can we get the F over these type of things and stop overreacting to bullshit like this?
I mean, the Bogues thing's always going to cause some people love him, some people hate him. Bogues could tweet the sky's blue and someone would tell him he's lying. So look, and sometimes like we've seen Adelaide deal with this similar ways before as well. So once again, it adds to the theatre of it all. These teams are all probably going to meet each other in finals. At the end of the day, as long as you win, then you could, doesn't matter what gets said. Yeah. And then, I mean, Derek's a snitch, right? Sprinting out of rid of people.
We're gonna get that cut up and sent to him straight away.
But look, I mean, I've known Ruck forever. I don't know why, like, he wouldn't feel the need to go and tell someone like a little, like, can you believe they said this about you in there? Like, that's just not who he is. And he doesn't care that much. Like, he just loves basketball. If you know Derek, like, there's no like, oh, I ran to tell someone this to cause issues. Like, he's just not that type of guy, nor does he care normally enough. So
Just poured fuel on that fire, though, Ruck. Just poured fuel on that fire, knowing he's a broadcaster and knowing we might get that in the playoffs. I reckon there's a little method to the madness behind D-Ruck there, I reckon.
well, here we go. I think Sydney are going to be in the grand final. So that's the one thing. And they're going to play either Adelaide or Southeast Melbourne, most likely, in my opinion. There's storylines to both those games. So 5-game series, let's go.
Just the one team I won't put out of that race, and a little bit's because I tipped them at the start of the season.
Perth,
I won't
yes.
quite take out is Perth, just the way they're playing. And, we need that. We need Daz to play that Why Can't We Be Friends music behind, because after Christian Doolittle and JLA had that little tussle post-game, they have been in dominant form and absolutely dominated for the Perth Wildcats on the weekend. Neither here nor there. We'll move on to the JC 5 points for the week. And Jace, your first point, you're going to go to a special visitor who came to Australia, and we're going to have a special edition of It's a Cold World and Cut to the Jace with her a bit later in the week.
Yeah, and it's got nothing to do with the fact that she did a podcast with us. It's just the fact that she actually, every review I got of Angel Reese's time, she landed on Wednesday, was at stuff Wednesday afternoon, was at stuff all Thursday, flew to Melbourne either Friday night or Friday morning, was at courtside for the Reebok event I was at where they announced the partnership with the WNBL, jumped on the podcast with me and Beck, was early, yes, I said early to that event, stayed around, took kids around the store, took longer to take her time with them. Any review I got from other people was excellent, and my interaction with her as well. Like, me and Beck had a great time. We only had a short period of time for her to jump on, but either side of that, the conversations of how much she loved Australia, how much she enjoyed it, how much more to her, like, she doesn't, like, basketball is her thing, it's her vehicle, but she loves everything around it. Yeah, I just think anyone that can come out and actually try and help people's experience in basketball, especially, like, if we look at women's sport and what's happened in the last few years with everything that's gone on, she's been a part of that process. At times, yes, people talk about her and Caitlin Clark, whatever, but you just got to look at the person and coming out here to Australia and trying to brighten and lift women's basketball and basketball in general. And anyone that does it the right way, you don't have to be a star. You don't have to be anyone. If you're involved and you're trying to do that, I think it's great.
And even posted stuff on her Instagram and everything beyond the Reebok stuff about the WNBL and about coming to Australia and everything. And I think, it's great to see, but, maybe some other people who have come to Australia can learn from that, Jace, because I don't think people realize, I think we spoke about it several times, how much of an opportunity it can be for that person individually, as well as far as their brand and everything going forward, and having a place where you can earn a little bit more dosh as well.
I can already guarantee you there is plans in motion right now, whether it be with, obviously, Reebok, who she was out with, whether it be with the WNBL, the NBL, Larry. I already guarantee you they're planning what's next. Because she sat down on that couch on Friday to talk with us, glowing reviews of Sydney, loved it, want to come back, want to just have a day where I can lay on the beach. You forget she's 23. She's a kid. She's still figuring it out. But I guarantee there's plans in place because of how she treated people, how she was, and everyone enjoyed her company and said she was great. So wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah, 23. I had already stopped playing, Jace. So she's doing pretty well. Your second point, we're going to go to someone that's been mentioned a couple weeks ago on our podcast. And no, we're not just doing it because it's Bendigo Spirit, but we have to after the WNBL Awards night on Monday is the Borlays, Jace.
Yeah, I just think if you look at like, she made the move to come across, right? And I think anytime that you make a move to change teams, like, there's a feeling out process sometimes. That's not an easy thing to do when you just completely just change your whole scene of where you're at. And she leaves somewhere where she from and grew up. So I just look at what she's come to Bendigo and been able to do. She's been able to lead your team because you're involved. She's been able to lead that squad. She was the leading scorer of the league. She had a 42-point game. I just think to be able to do that at such a young age, that's why there was so much around her when she joined. That's why she's already played for the Opals. And then to go and win an MVP, it won't be her last one. And now it's for her on her shoulders. She's only young, but it's on her to try and lift the weight and carry your Bendigo spirit and be a part of trying to make a finals run. So once again, it's more just credit to her because I think it's a great achievement. And I knew her when she was younger because she played with the Petries, Jess Petrie, and so on. So just a great family, great kid, and she's doing wonderful things.
Yeah, unfortunately, she's a Forestville junior. As a Sturt junior who played 5 years at Sturt, it's a bit of a rivalry, and we don't really like the Eagles too much. But yeah, congratulations on her. And as I mentioned earlier, congratulations to all the award winners and everyone on a great season. I think the awards night the other night was a great way to sort of recap the year. It was a special venue at the Australian Museum in Sydney, almost like the night at the museum. Like we had a tour through all the animal stuff and special stuff, and then the awards night ceremony and everything was amazing. So great work to everyone involved there. But number 3, Jase, we just had Xavier Cooks on the show. We're going to go with the Sydney Kings, who are absolutely rolling with 8 wins on the trot.
Yeah, this is just really simple, but it's just Sydney right now are the team to beat. Let's not get it confused. If they do what they most likely will, it's still not going to be easy, but if they can win out, they'll finish in top spot. And if Sydney get to finish at top spot and play at Kudos, they're going to draw crowds of 15, 20,000 people. They're playing really good basketball. They're all humming. They're all playing well. They got Gorge fired up on the sidelines. So I just think right now you look at Sydney and that they are the team to beat. And it's not because of words that Bogut's tweeting. It's because of the basketball they're playing.
The amount of Bogut's tweets have got mentioned in this segment has been crazy. We might get another one from Bogues.
He might have to sponsor us.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering he doesn't have one anymore, the Rogues Bogues is done with, of course, him being in the NBL now as a coach. But Sydney Kings absolutely rolling at the moment. Number 4, you're going to go to an Aussie big man who's found a new home and had one of the best debuts you can have. Had 17 points in the first half. Tied his career high for 26 points, and it was against the team he was initially traded to in the Utah Jazz, and that, of course, Jase, is Jock Landau.
The story of it, just the fact that he got traded, got off a plane, like the way he told it was the most Aussie way you could tell it, and just the fact that he got called saying, get off the plane, you're not flying to Utah, you got traded to Atlanta. He was like, okay. They're like, you got a flight in the morning. No, I'll just get in my car. I'll put my stuff in. I'll drive myself. And we've heard stories of people being like, I'm not driving that far. Just a lot of people wouldn't do it. I'm not saying only Australians would, but it's very much the Australian way to say, you know what? Bags in the back of the ute. I'm getting in the car and I'm driving 5.5 hours, sleep and play tomorrow. But then that would have been a good story if you just cut it there. Then the fact he plays, has his career high, they win the basketball game by 2 points. I said it earlier in the show, I think Jock's found a home. And I think just that story alone, if you're the Atlanta Hawks, how could you not want someone like that involved in your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I think I'm most excited for out of all this, I think I said it, one of our previous pods, maybe late last year, was what his form and everything means for the Boomers. Because we probably talked about, with the amount of guards and everything they have coming through, the big man spot's the area that needs to be addressed apart from him, like the depth in the big man spot and after Jock. But he looks like he has that ability to carry that spot for the few major events to come, at least, Jase.
He's really important to us. He's really important. We need a 5. We've obviously got some guys, but none established, really, I don't think. We've got some very good players around, but I think Jock is really, really important to the immediate future of the Boomers, especially with guys like Josh Dyson and those kind of guys you're going to need to play off and play with.
Number 5, your last point, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion about this, Jay. So I wanted to touch on Illawarra. You did too, about their season so far and how it's gone.
It's been gross because They're the
Right.
defending champions.
We
Well,
need
because they're
that's going to be
defending
on
champions.
that's going to be on a social tile, I think, and just gross. I think that's a perfect word to describe their season.
Well, Illawarra, it's been an un-Illawarra year. Like, they've had some bad years, but it's not through what they've dealt with. And the other part, too, is, like, I look at Justin Tatum since he arrived, right? Since he arrived, everything he touched turned to gold. Where in a year and a half, he turns that place into winning a title. Like, I have so much respect for him and how he goes about it. And I like how he is who he is. And I spoke to him in the Gong when I was on broadcast a few weeks ago. And the one thing he said was, we've got everyone's best effort. Like, it is so different being the hunted rather than the hunter. And I think that's one thing. I don't necessarily know that this is on him because it's as a club they make decisions. But when you lose Sam Froling in a grand final series, you know he's going to miss most of the next year. And you can't expect him to come back because he's coming off an Achilles. When you lose Lockie Olbrich, which is a great thing for them, they got him to go to the NBA and be a two-way player. You lose Trey Kell, who was, I don't want to say he was your most important, but he probably was your most important last year because he unlocked Tyler Harvey. He took pressure off Tyler. He made Sam better. He made Lockie better. He made everyone better. And he also got buckets and filled it up for you. I just don't know when you don't replace some of those players, how you don't expect the year after when people are going to be coming after you for everything just to tick over. Once again, I don't necessarily know that falls on Tatum because I don't know how their structure works, but it just hasn't worked out however they thought it was because it's been really ugly at times where they've copped some massive losses at home too, where normally they're excellent. And I think this week for me, like they play Sydney, that's normally a game they get up for. I'm hoping they do because I've got to go commentate, but I'm nervous that Sydney could give them a hiding.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a couple of things, Jason. I'm keen to get your thoughts on this, and we'll finish with this point. One thing, I think, after they lost Trey Kell, and again, like you, I say this with the deepest respect for what Illawarra have done over the past year, and I hope they turn it around next year and everything. I've got deep respect for Justin Tatum and everyone at the Illawarra Hawks. I've known Big Joe since I was a kid. Joel Carlu's a great guy. Sam Gruggan, obviously, and a lot of people in that team. But I'm just wondering, were there plans in place for when you didn't get Trey Kell, when you lost Lockie Olbrich, and things like that? Were there plans in place? Because haven't been in the league for so long. When you go through a recruiting process, there needs to be plan A, B, C, D, so you have all areas covered. It didn't look like that was there, Jase. First of all, you could have shelled out the money to keep Trey Kell. Second of all, when you lose Lockie Olbrich, there's not much. You get JaVale McGee, which was a bit of a gold strike, everything went your way to be able to make that signing. And then you can even see at the start of the season, like you got Chikori McLaughlin as your import point guard. I said it at the Blitz, that game where he went off, I think it was against Perth at the Blitz in the second half. He went off and they came back from 15 points down. That was the worst thing that could have happened for Illawarra because then they thought, he's good enough. They signed him. He was clearly not good enough. And then there seemed like no plays. They end up getting QJ Peterson and everything, but it's just all a little bit of a schmozzle and didn't look like there was plans in place to cover the potential losses of the guys that were so important to that championship.
The other thing that happened too is Dave O'Hickey was out, which I think disrupted the start of the year, but also counter to that, they had expectations of Davo being the starting point guard and taking on that role and taking that next step up. And it's not that I think Davo's extremely capable and he's had some outstanding games that only people like Davo can have where he affects the game on both ends. It's more the responsibility that a starting point guard has. Last year, Davo won Finals MVP. Well, he didn't, but he got given the award. But if it wasn't done on the voting system and it was just said who was the best player on each team, Davo should have won it.
Yeah.
But that's a whole, like when you're the sixth man and you get to come on and pick your moments, even if he starts, right? If you go from the sixth man to starting, you're playing that role, he almost has a free hit each night because whatever Davo brought was an added bonus to what they already had. And often more than not, he was bringing it every night because he had the freedom to go and make plays and go and do things. When everyone's looking at you to bring the ball up the court and put people in positions and JaVale needs a touch and Tyler needs a shot and then Sam needs it and then what about me? It's a whole different world of juggling things. And I think they added that on him without much help around him. And I think that just made it tough, where what they had last year was they had Trey and Tyler doing their thing, but they had this great person off the bench of Davo being able to come in and just do what he needs to do, and that's just play basketball. And I just don't think they've got it right. And you are right with the import, was they just kind of thought, we'll go get someone and it'll be enough, when really with who you lost, you probably needed to get more.
The other thing I'll say is, I and again, love all these guys as a player. Dave Hickey has been awesome. Wani Sokolobulik, for me, is one of the most underrated players in the competition, and the importance he has to that team defensively and everything. But just firepower-wise, with how much firepower other teams have in the NBL, I think the Hawks maybe have overinvested in those guys who bring the energy in that every night and do all the little things and everything like that, but forgotten about the firepower you need to win at this level, considering, they had Wani starting at the 3 last year, but they had Trey Kell and Tyler Harvey outside of him, and then Sam Froling, Lockie Olbrich, and all those guys. Now you've got Davo Hickey, who's more of a do-everything, Mr. Fix-It type of guy, Jase. Like, you're not going to go for 30. And then you've got Wani at the 3. And then you've got, as you said, more pressure on Tyler. You've got Mason Peatling starting most of the season at the 4. So how many of those guys can you afford to carry if you're going to try and repeat as a champion or be a title contender?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because you need, like they proved, and the teams that are doing well proved that you need guys to play a role to win. But Xavier said it before, the balance needs to be right in a group. You can't have 5 stars. You can't have 5 role players. Like, you need that balance to work. And going back to what Tatum said, when you're being hunted and you're not the hunter, everyone gets your best shot. When you're Davo right now, you are number 1, 2, or 3 on the scouting report. Where last year, Trey Kell, Tyler Harvey, Stan Froling, Lockie Olbrich, like, you had all these names where, like, if we don't worry about them, the game's over. It changes the shape of it. And I'd be really interested. There's lots of talks that Tatum maybe doesn't come back next year. I don't know in his contract situation. There's part of me that says he's the kind of guy that's like, nah, I'm going to leave, but not after a season like this. I'm going to come back for more. So they've got a lot of decisions to make. But the one thing about Illawarra, as you said, like, they got some really good people involved, player-wise, management-wise. Like, Matty Campbell's a legend of the club. I think they've got the pieces there to turn it around. But this year has not been pretty. And as I said, it's been pretty gross at times for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, some brains trust that you can trust there to try and turn it around next season. But I think a big positive they can get out of it is Davo with those glasses all year, Jase. He looks like the best tennis player going around in the NBL. I'll tell you that much.
I'll tell you what he is. He's probably much more athletic than tennis players, because some of the plays he can make are not what tennis players can make. But no, hey, as long as he's back healthy, guys like him make the league better. So as long as if the glasses help the eye and he means he can be on the floor, all power to you.
Yeah, absolutely. But on that, Tasmania look like they've all but sealed 6th spot and will be playing playoffs again. But that's all we have time for. Another edition of Cut to the Jase, a really special one. Everyone, make sure you tune in to basketball.com.au for not only our podcast, we Cut to the Jase, It's a Cold World, and a combined special edition with Angel Reese coming later in the week too. But make sure you tune into all our coverage, especially on the WNBL heading into the playoffs starting this weekend. A lot of good basketball coming up. But that's all we have time for on the latest edition of Cut to the Jase. We'll see you next week.